Welcome aboard everyone, back to it, another episode. And I'd just like to do a special shout out to a couple of fellas that really helped us out for the parts on this car. Give us a second, I've got to grab the old cue card out, the brain matter's not that good anymore. I don't want to get these names jumbled. So we've got Dan and Ian, they were the guys that really done the homework and we were able to get the rad support through. Good work, thanks boys. And the other dude that I'd like to thank is Reg. We obtained the beaver through him, we got a left-hand front guard, a front stone tray and a nose cone. Excellent, and all genuine Holden. And as you can appreciate, these old girls now, because parts are so hard to get, that's a really big deal. And the stuff that we got, all old stock, genuine stuff. And the only bit that was second-hand was the front stone tray, and all the rest was perfectly good stock for us to use. But thanks for that, guys.
And also too, Graham as well for another nose cone. We're not using that, but thank you, Graham.
Thanks, Graham. You know who you are, mate.
Yep.
Thanks for that.
Thank you, guys.
And all you dudes, you all know who you are. Thank you very much for what you did for us. Great detective work.
And if you know of any sills, let us know.
Yeah, that'd be excellent. If we get a pair of sills, left and right, that'd be really good. That'd be the icing on the cake for this job.
Yep, it sure would be. All right, Pops, well said. And let's get stuck into this episode.
Okay, let's check this rear beaver cutout. See what we've got here, see how good it is. See what it's like for rust and old repairs or old damage. That's really good there. That's spot on, no body filler. It's had no work, it's original panel, all that. It's never, no dents in it, which is hard to believe. And these quarters, right hand lower. Wow, that's factory original, that. Never been touched. That is unreal. This left hand. Same thing. That's unbelievable to find a nice cut like that. And now the beauty part about it is, just before I forget, I'll jump under here and check the spare tyre well. Wow. It's like it looks like a car that possibly has come from way out Central Australia in the desert somewhere. There's had no rust much around it, a little bit of surface now, but no big thing. But that'll allow us to cut that where we need to, trim that to go back in the back of this little Torana exactly how we would want it to go back to a factory thing. We've got all the original pressings, around these wheel arch lips. We can trim this where we need it to come off. Everything's factory original. All the jig holes, all the other mounting points where it'll sit back on. We can take out what we need of this back floor pan. We'll probably take that beaver off. It's a bit crusty on the outside, but it's still quite solid. But if we take that off, it'll give us a chance to have a look inside, blast it all, but we'll work out exactly what we need off this. But once that goes back in, it'll sit back in where it should, exactly to the joins. It'll be all factory joins again and done right. And that'll just make the back of that car spot on. That's just brilliant to have that. And it's such a good one. And then we'll dig into the rest of the bits, have a look at them. We'll run around these and see what we've got. So we've got the left-hand guard. Check the factory part out. That is unbelievable to get that. Of another 50-odd-year-old part, a little bit crusty. Naturally, it sat around all that time. That'll all blast up beautifully. We'll do all that again. And then we go over here, and this part is absolutely unbelievable to get this in such good condition, a nose cone. Another one with a factory original part on it. A little bit crusty, like the guard, but no damage. You would never ever find one of those. That is so rare to get that. I don't think it's even got a dent in it. Get a quick look at that, but that'll blast up beautifully. And then it continues on. We've got the rad support. There again, it's factory original, never been on a car. Same deal, little bit crusty, it'll clean up beautiful. And then of all things to find a front stone tray. Second hand, a little bit untidy, but I've tidied that, got it pretty well back to where it should be, sat it on to trial the fit up, and it's sitting on spot on. And good indication, you check your jig holes just to see how it's lining up, and they're going to mate up beautifully, rad support and that stone tray. But to find these panels, man, that is awesome to get those things. Hard to believe. But the best part about it is now, this car now, apart from the sills, and we might get lucky somewhere, hopefully we will, but apart from the sills, all these bits now, this car is back to 100% factory original GM parts. And the difference there is, look, we had some aftermarket stuff here, you know, put it on, had a bit of a look, and it's just that little tiny bit different, doesn't sit on how you would like it to, you've got to make it work. Whereas the best part about this is it goes back on, it's all 100% GM, and it's just the nostalgic thing to know that that car is the real deal. You'll hear people say matching numbers, well, this is all matching Holden sheet metal. And that is just a beautiful thing when you're doing a rest day. You can't get it any better. And end of the day, more than happy. Okay, so I'm into the front stone tray, knocking all the dents out of it. Trusty old body spoon, very, very handy for awkward spots like up in there along that body line. And typical old stone tray, down the front of the car on the bottom, everything's bumped into it. It had more waves in it than the Pacific Ocean, that. But bits and pieces, these old cars as they are. But the dents are all starting to come out of that nicely. I've dollied all that up, working my way from this side across to the other side. But that little bit there where I was up in there with that spoon, that was pushed right back in there, that line. So bit by bit I'm bringing that forward. And the same down here, get this shape all back into it. That was punched in there quite nicely. And a few dents through the bottom. But typical, the bottom of an old car, when you go to park, everyone runs up against a curb or something, or a little bump stop and leaves their mark in it. But bit by bit it'll all come out, and all those spot weld dags, gone along there, cleaned them up, tapped all that edge up nice and straight. So I want to have that really, really nice and crisp and straight right along that, because when I set that on that rad support panel down the bottom, I want that to go on and sit really nice and straight along these edges, so I can just drop it on clamp it on, mark the thing where it needs to be, and then I'll go ahead and I'll probably use some of the old spot weld holes along here, and we just go again with them. And other places I'll fill some in where it's not going to work so good. But the key to this little job at the moment is to get it all nice and straight, get that sheet metal really good so I can run a file over that in the end, and a bit of primer, and she'll be all sweet. But watch this. I'll wind him right up on the door. This will be interesting. How is it, Mick?
Yeah, getting there, Pops.
Getting there, mate. That
have a
looks
quick
like,
look. Have a sticky, mate.
That
Actually,
looks like a rookie mistake, that whole door. What are you doing?
hey, someone's got to be a rookie, mate.
How is it? Starting to shape up?
Yeah, no, it's looking really good. So, I'll just break it down. The first things we want to achieve, obviously, ruler back on. You want to get the outside lining up all the way around, and you can see the end of the door's actually been flogged in a little bit.
Yep,
So,
sure has.
and that's when they'll get the old body filler and fill the ends of the doors. And that's the last thing you want to do. You actually want steel on the end of your doors. You don't want...
You know what the end of that door looks like to me? Fake news.
Brown noise.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then you come up to the top of the door and you can see, Pops, if you come in closer, it's actually out a couple of mil onto the quarter panel, the outer skins. Now that's where it hasn't been hit in with a panel hammer. And that's really good because I can line that up, and then it gives me a good idea when you come back down through the middle of the door how much I need to tap it back this way on my edges. Now you come up to the top, and I'm trying to get the door to fit perfectly on the top of the quarter panel just there. As you can see, it's pretty good now.
Yep.
But we have to be careful as well because we also don't want the door to sag later. So,
and you get to that point too with doing these doors, you'll reach a point where you kind of go, if I go any more, I'm going to go the other way. You're going to just strike that happy balance.
Yeah, that's it, Pops. When you close the door, it's really nice now. You just have to...
Wow, what a difference, eh?
Yeah, and the same thing down here. See how it's lining up, the bottom of the door?
Yep,
so
it's starting to all turn into a car again, mate.
Yeah, so that's another really important. So from top, the middle, the bottom, and then you can see whatever they've had here with the door skin. And I'm not even sure what was going on here. Anyway, we'll fix that. So obviously I want it to go.
Put your noggin out of the road, mate, we can't see.
Obviously I want it to be nice and straight.
Yeah.
See the low through the middle of the door there?
You could leave that for a bit of wind aerodynamics if you like, something different.
Oh, well, I'll just have to have a conversation with Matt, a bit of artwork but yeah, no, so that's got to be done, fixed up, get this gap nice. But the factory gaps, it's all good now. Like, you know, got it sitting in the hole, and this gap's really good around the top of the door as well.
How's it sealing up, Mick?
Sealing's really good as well. I'm still checking all that. But yeah, it's pretty good. But if you come back here, now the next thing is, it's got a little bit of, I've nearly got it perfect. So you got to come back to your striker plate and
the old strikers.
Where's my screwdriver? Wait a sec. So,
and the other thing too, probably a good point here, you can, and they do from factory, they have what they call a shim, and it depends, and this will just show you how not perfect they really were. Some of these strikers though, you can actually put a shim in behind them, and they did supply them brand new from the factory. Some had one, some had two, some had none, just depending on the way they fit it up.
Yep, and also with the shims, before you go and shim them, check and see if it's been hit with a hammer back or forward, the actual skin.
Yeah, good point.
And same with your door, because that's why you might need a shim. But we've checked that and we actually needed one shim. So every car is different, obviously. But yeah, so now just to the finer details, adjust it as I go a little bit, get the old rubber hammer and just tap, 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 couple of mil back. Just depends how much I need to bring the door out, bring the door down, and how that door's closing.
But bear in mind, you've got to have that door on correctly to start with. This is just a fine tune at the end.
Yeah, that's it. So this is to get it sitting just beautiful and nice, Pops.
Absolutely.
So you just give that a nice little close and voila. Beautiful, mate.
Just do that again, Mick.
And there's no pressure. See how it's just nice?
Yeah, perfect.
There's no, you don't have to slam it. Just push it in nice and easy.
As I always say, that nice first click and then the second and you're done.
But we can't move on now, because we need to get the guards right. We need to get the radio support in, and we need to make sure that that's all going to fit before we move on.
Yep.
All right, Pops, you're just checking out my blast work here, mate.
Yeah, all done. You happy with it?
Yeah, go easy on me.
Mate, I'll never go easy on you. You know that.
Come on, mate.
So what we're doing, we've got, as you can see, this stuff's all hanging up now outside. And the reason for that is so we can really see it out in the true light of day to make sure there's no little spots missed anywhere. And I like to go around top, bottom, all in around the seams. And there's a little bit just there, Mick, you've missed. It's had a little bit of a lick.
Okay.
Wants to go again, just up in there. A little bit down that lip, tiny little bit there. Not too bad, but just a hint of nasty still there.
Yeah. I'll go over that again, and I'll make sure that all that rust is completely gone. Because if I don't, that will come out later, and then you'll start to get that same issue like it did have.
Yeah, and you don't want that.
So yeah, we'll be repainting it again.
And here's a comparison. This will explain to what I was saying earlier. Like, I've welded these two little panels in the bottom of this rad, little filler panels that I put on it. You can go two ways with your blast. You can blast your car, do all your body work, and go that way. We like to do the metal work, then blast, because once you've done your welding and it looks great and you've dressed it all up, there could be a tiny little fine spot or a pinhole, and when you blast that, it'll blow it through. So I like to do the metal work, then blast it, and then you'll find any little irregularities if they are there. But that looks really good. Doesn't look like there's any pinholes in that. It looks really the way it should. So that's the way we go that way. But then if you pop over here, Mick, with the camera, give everyone a comparison of the before and the after of this blasting. So there you go, that's before and after. Now, Michael's gone over that, not aggressively, but just enough that it's given that a real nice key up or an etch up. It's got rid of the that worming rust, and that can be a real issue, Mick, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong, Pops. It can be a real nightmare, that stuff.
And the trick to it all is with the blasting, and we like to blast, is to get rid of just that worming effect of rust, because if you don't,
yep,
what happens? You prime over that, it'll look fantastic for a couple of years. But then all of a sudden, little things appear. And that's the beauty of a real nice blast that gets down into the grain of the steel,
yep,
and it gets rid of that worming effect. And once you key that, as Michael's done there now,
yeah,
and you epoxy that, you've got an absolutely perfect base to kick off with.
Yeah, and that is why we sandblast. We've got 110% confidence in that. So
yep,
the kit's keyed up and everything can stick to it. 100. It's just a perfect finish.
It's really the correct way to go.
Yeah, yep.
And you want really good, clean, dry air. Remember that. That's crucial when you're doing this.
Yeah. So you don't go and touch this now with your hands. You don't put one finger on it. So
that's it.
You've got to use gloves and all that.
So that's an insight and shows you where we're up to with these few bits and pieces. But the whole car will get this, and we're really, really pedantic when it comes to this stuff.
And this come up really good too, Pop. So
all right, just give that tiny little touch up, Mick, that it needs. Rest looks pretty good. Just finish off the nose cone, and we'll get that in the booth, and we'll get some primer on it.
Yeah, right. I better get stuck into it. I'm running out of time today.
Let's do it. So there we go. There's all the little bits and pieces been all sandblasted and keyed up and ready for that epoxy primer. That's all on. But we had a real busy week this week. Not a hell of a lot on, unfortunately, as far as progress on the car. But we'll hook back in hard to it next week. But that's it for this one. But remember, keep it real and keep it right. Catch you next time.